Grand Rising. You know, I find it really interesting when I guess like I can see like a little bit of disbelief. Okay. One thing that I have always been clear about is that anyone is allowed to believe what they want to believe. It's about the power of the mind. Okay, that's the first thing. I think the next thing that I've made very clear also is that I will never leave the Bible. I've seen too much. I've seen too much. And there's things that we have to, as a whole, understand about those who are bound to the Bible. See, I'm not bound to the Bible. I am not in a monastic belief system. I believe in everyone's belief system. And I've stated that several times. We can use with my woes, and with my woes, I spoke on the different theologies and mythologies that have the same background stories. And where is your God? I've spoken on the same thing. I've repeatedly said, you're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. It's, and there, I've been sitting here searching for the word, but I cannot find it for some reason. I might not be asking, you have to ask the right question to get the right answer. All right. But there is a word that they use to describe verses in the Bible that are specific to the time of King James, which shows his level of witchcraft and gaslighting within the Bible. Excuse me. And so, in With My Woes, I stated that I believe that the Bible is very real, but it's up to you to use discernment to figure out what is real and what is fake. Okay, so one of my own personal contradictions with the Bible is the Bible states that we were born sinners, right? But myself, I don't function that way. I've never functioned that way. And especially as I got older and did more research to find out that the soul is inherently good. The soul is inherently good. Okay. So I've always functioned from the moment that I learned that. I functioned that way, but I functioned that way even as a child. As a child, I function like everybody's good. Sorry. That's just who I am. And my content goes on to defend that, stating that it is covert emotional incest. And even in these books, it states that the religious portion and aspect of some people's upbringing is the very thing that is causing their mental illness. Okay, so again, it's about the religious aspect and the monastic vow. Okay, believing that there's one true God. All right. Now, the chapter that I read in Jeremiah, I'm gonna have to do a little research, and maybe I should have done that before I decided to do this video. But I can always come back. This shit is infinite. It's very clear yet again, because I spoke on this in Where's Your God? The Lord in the Lord is a person. He's speaking about a covenant on a deed. Land, right? So when we sit here and we talk about certain things, there were rules set in place in order to get the land. It wasn't about like being righteous per se, but there were certain things that they were doing to keep one person out of that covenant. And whatever they were doing, talking shit is basically what they were doing. When I say Beelzebub, we can even poetry, fairies and Mary. I said that Urbane Grandier had died as a result of gossip. They had tried to say that he made a deal and a pact with certain demons. Beelzebub was one of them. Okay, when he died, flies had flown out, and people had believed that they had gotten the right culprit, but that couldn't have been true because the nuns still experienced what they experienced. They still experienced demonic possession. That's because the people who got him killed were the ones that actually were dealing with Beelzebub. Okay, the shit is real. You can't sit here and talk to me about angels and demons and then try to discount any fucking religion completely. What you can denounce, though, is certain things that are within it that bind. Remember, my whole thing is to tell you about witchcraft. My whole purpose is to tell you where this shit is fucked up at. Right? So if anybody can remember exactly what the name is of there's text, specific text within the Bible, so specific verses that are specific to King James and do not fit the time of the Bible. So I think some of them are in Proverbs. Okay. Like, do not suffer a witch to live. That is specific to King James. It never said anything like that. And you know that it never said anything like that because then you have the witch of, it's either Tandor or Candor. Saul outlawed witchcraft, but then she came through and talked to Saul and showed him a ghost, his own ghost, I think it was. Don't quote me on that, okay? Because a lot of this stuff, I don't fucking know. I just open the Bible one day and say, fuck, I said that? I said that. In the same book I'm talking about, Jeremiah, it says that the children will no longer, their teeth will no longer rot out because their parents ate sour grapes. Okay, that is that whole we were born sinners shit, okay? We're born sinners. We're born sinners because, let's think of it like this. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That is the rhetoric that we run with, right? So when you have a family of thieves, well, then you must be a thief too because your family runs with thieves, right? Your family is thieves and you run with thieves because you cool and you tight with them, right? That is actually more of what the Bible was saying than just saying that we're born sinners. No, it's the way that we function. And so in Jeremiah, he states that there will be someone that'll help us to absolve that. That was Jesus Christ speaking on covert emotional incest. And myself. I'm doing it too. Okay? I'm not a thief just because my parents are thieves. Okay? We have to eliminate that. But it's by understanding and also with covert emotional incest, if you have a family dynamic of that, it's very easy for you to fall into that. I think that was a big thing back in the day with gypsies. I don't know what the appropriate term is. So if you are offended by that word, I apologize. But using that because back in the day, there was like a very big thing against gypsies because you seem to have a dynamic of criminality. Right? That comes from survival. That comes from all the things that covert emotional incest is. You know, I used to have a group called FOE. It actually was a hashtag too. Hashtag FOE. Family over everything. Isn't that odd that acronym is FO? Right. So I do not believe that anyone is inherently bad. I believe that, and that's contradictory to what the Bible states. But me, myself, I stick with the Bible because I've seen too much. I've had my life aligned. If the Bible isn't real, why when I read that verse did everything align to expose to me people? It's all about the power of the mind. Right? There are plenty of people who are Islamic who truly and wholeheartedly believe in it because they've seen things happen by believing in what they believe in. That's all that matters. When they say like, stand for something or you fall for anything, that's very much true. If you don't have a very clear and defined path, you can't manifest, right? So you have to pick something. It doesn't matter what you pick, as long as you're able to have respect for that. And that's what I've noticed in the community is that a lot of you lack respect for other people's belief systems and values. And that doesn't make you any more enlightened or whole or powerful. All right? You have to have respect for other people. Otherwise, you are only assisting and dividing others. You have to be able to be willing to be welcoming to other people's belief systems. And especially if they're telling you, hey, I saw something that confirms what the fuck I see. You can't you would then be denying their existence and their reality and gaslighting them. You're actually just as guilty as the people you're trying to fight. There is no such thing as monastic. We have theistic and then we have monastic, right? I'm not monastic. I use the Bible a lot because that's what I was raised on, right? That's what I was raised on. But I also I believe in non-traditional belief systems. I've dabbled in voodoo and Wicca. You just watched it. I've dabbled in Buddhism. When you meditate, that's not a Christian. That's not a Christian. That's not a Christian basis. Christians believe in prayer, not necessarily meditation, right? Okay. I believe in twin flames. That's actually more of a Hindu belief system when you get into Shiva and how he manifested Kali. Mm, 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 mm. I'm just using what has worked for me over the years. And there was a time where I left it for a long time, like a long ass fucking time. No, that shit is fake. Jesus is a figment of the imagination. I went through that phase when Natty was like 2, right? She's 8 now, so about 6 years ago. But I came back to it. I don't even remember what made me come back to it, to be honest with you, right? But there's things like when I was pregnant with Aaron, my parents suggested Aaron's name, and his dad wanted him to be his name to be Musa. I wasn't on that shit because I'm not Islamic. But I said I'll go ahead and I'll name him Moses, right? Well, when my mother did something to me, and she went blind, and she did not regain her sight until I had Aaron. I gave birth to Aaron. There's things that I've seen that just, they align with the Bible. They align with history. And it lets me know that history, because also think about this. Okay. Here's another thing that I've realized studying. When you get into, okay, this place was named this place was named this, and you realize what they really were. Or for instance, Beelzebub is also Zeus. Did you know that? Did you know that? There's strange things, strange connections. Oh, and the Bible's like primarily, and then you also have to think about translations, right? Funny, I'll bring my mom up here. In the summer, my daughter stayed with my mom. My mom would send me videos, and one of the videos she sent me, in the background, you could hear that she was doing some studying on language, because remember, my mother was heavy on grammar and correct spellings, and that's what my mom's into, right? So in the background, you could hear that they said that there was an Aramaic word that actually translates to father, but the way they translate it in the Bible was to obey. So when you have certain things like that translating, so when I say, okay, the Lord actually means a person of an estate, right? And then you have the word obey in there when it actually means father. Look at how many times they've translated a word that doesn't mean that, okay? This video is going a lot longer than I intended because I'm kind of like talking in circles today. But it's important because a lot of you have been repulsed and turned away from the word of God as a result of an act of an individual to harm. It does not discredit or devalue that word. Oh my God. Back in the day, I left the church. Okay. I left the church a couple times, and I still will probably never go back to church. That's not a thing. But I remember the pastor noting that I was there. Okay. It does not matter if you don't know me personally. He recognizes my presence, right? So I'm sitting there. It's like he read my mind. He's like, some of y'all left the church because people did you wrong in the church. And it's not the church, it's the people, right? It's the same thing for the Bible. You left the Bible because of the witchcraft involved, and not necessarily witchcraft, black magic involved, right? So you left because the black magic, and you discredit and discount the entire Bible when that's not really what you should be doing. The laws still remain that you should treat others as you treat yourself, right? You shouldn't kill, you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't commit adultery, you shouldn't be jealous and covet other people's things. The 10 Commandments still stand, right? The 10 Commandments are a part of the laws of Ma'at. Now think about it. Ma'at and Matanal. Do you see that connection? There are more than 10 commandments that they got in Matanal. Anyway, I'm doing too much for y'all right now. I really probably need to write it down. I probably will, and I'll come revisit it, because there's also some other stuff I wanted to tell you guys. But we're just going to do a quick run, because I noticed, like, over the course of maybe a week, I haven't made a video in 10 days. I know I rubbed and ruffled some feathers, but you need to really do a little more research before you deny things that are actually beneficial and good for you. And you don't have to believe or subscribe to what I believe. I respect you and your belief system, because that's what you do when you're not bound to a belief system. You're able to value and appreciate everyone else's perspective. So I hope y'all have a wonderful Sunday.